Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I'm going to show you all the basic end tackle that you might need to start freshwater coarse fishing. So this is aimed at beginners, and it should help you if you're looking to get into fishing, and just give you some hints and tips on what to take with you to the bank. Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I'm going to take you through all the basic things that you might need to begin coarse fishing. So when I say coarse fishing, I mean general freshwater fishing, going after silverfish like roach and rudd and bream, and also small carp and small tench, fish like that. Just a general tackle that you'll need. So we'll start off with the tackle box. So my tackle box, so this is the tackle box I take with me just if I want to do a bit of general fishing with a single rod. I'm not sure what I quite want to do, I just want to go out and catch a few fish. So we'll start off in the top section. So I have some scissors, some nice sharp fishing scissors to cut line, because you don't want to be cutting line with your teeth. And then I have excuse me, a selection of weights from big to small. I'll just show you those. I have quite small weights for doing ledger fishing, so that's if you want to just fish with a weight casting all different distances with a bait on the end. And depending on the distance, or depending on the weather, if it's choppy, if there's a current, you might want to use a bigger weight. So I have a selection of sizes, and here's one that looks like a pebble. Just a variation of small weights for different occasions. And then I have a plumb bob, and this is to check the depth. So if you're fishing on the bottom with a float and you want to see how deep that area is, you can add this on to your hook, and then it will go down and sit on the bottom and give you a good indication of how deep it is. So it's always good to have one of those with you. I've also got a bait screw and a bait needle. So if I want to hair rig anything, not strictly necessary, but if I want to drill a pellet or another bait and then add it onto a hair rig, I've got that for a bit of carp fishing. So then I've got a selection of floats. So you always need, for float fishing, a selection for different occasions. So I've got something like this, for example, which is for very windy conditions. So you can see it's quite a big float at the bottom, so it needs quite a lot of shots, and that means that you can get it quite far out and it will stay quite stable. And then this thin top section will allow it to stay roughly in position, so that the current and the wind doesn't blow it, so there's less resistance here, so it will stay fixed and it'll be easier to see because it's got this big orange top. So if you don't take one of those with you and it's a really windy day, you're really going to struggle to be able to float fish. So again, I've got a selection of all different types, and these are what I've just collected over the years. You don't need to have this many, but you can see I've got like a crystal float here with an insert on it, a Drennan float with a quick change link, so this will pull off and I can change the float. And I've got a really tiny float here, little canal float for very delicate fishing. I've got one here for carp fishing with pellets to cast really far out. Again, heavier floats for different conditions. Here's another old one. This is designed to catch grayling in the river, but you get the idea, so that you've got a selection of floats, so you can always pick something for the type of weather. So I've also got, I also think this is very important, I've got a selection of disgorgers. Okay, and this is to get the hook out of the fish. And if you're going to start coarse fishing, I recommend that you learn how to use a disgorger, because you don't want to be relying on the hook being just by the lip. It might be a bit further down and you might need to access the hook. So I've got a couple of sizes. I've got a nice thin end here for very small fish if they've got a very small mouth, and then going up to sort of a general size, and then a bigger one for carp. So you don't need 3, but it's good to have one such as this one. It's got 2 ends on it. It's got like a medium size and a small size, and then you can have it round your neck, so you can put a piece of string on it here, or you can keep it in your bait box. Okay, so going into the tackle box now. So again, I have some more floats, and these are my bigger floats if you're going to fish very deep. So if you're at a very deep lake, far out, if you want to fish far out with some depth, this will hold everything into position a bit nicer. And it just gives you that option to be able to sort of overcome different weather conditions. Nice big tip on this one. You can imagine choppy water, far out, it's going to be difficult to see a small tip. Same again, different weights you can add to these ones in the bottom, these Drennan floats. And a selection of different colours as well, just in case the light changes. You might prefer a yellow tip or an orange tip, or you might even get a marker pen and black the tip, depending on the light. So moving on, I actually have a selection of quiver tips. So this is probably not something you need, because nowadays, especially if you're fishing with a ledger rod, they have a built-in tip. But I always like to have my own tip. So here's a standard quiver tip, and this is great if you're fishing for bream, or you're fishing for smaller fish with a ledger far out, and you want to be able to see very fine indications. So I have one of those. I have 2 of those, the same, and these screw into the end of your fishing rod. So if your rod has a thread on the last eye, that's what it's for. But I've also got, which is even more old-fashioned, a swing tip, a tip which sits down. You can imagine this is attached to the end of the rod. It sits down, and then when the fish takes the bait, it lifts up, and then when you strike, this sort of disengages completely. So that's another thing that you don't necessarily need, but I like those. I think they're quite useful. So moving on now to feeders. So I've got a selection of feeders, different types of feeders. So I've got small cage feeders for maggots. As I say, I mean, if you have a tackle box like this, you can go out and you haven't got to think too much about what you need to bring, because you can cover quite a lot of areas with this variety of stuff. So a small maggot feeder, and then I've got a cage feeder here, which is designed for a running rig, so the line goes through the middle and it can run freely. And then there's another cage feeder for a fixed rig, and then I've got these flat method feeders for some ground bait if you want to do some carp fishing, and a few different sizes of those. Again, this one's for a running rig. And if you'd like to know how to set up a running rig or a fixed rig, I'll leave some links in the description box below to those videos. And then finally, I've got this pellet bander. So if you're using pellets and you want to add them onto a band, a rubber band to attach to your hook, this opens up the band so that you can get the pellet in. Another very useful tool. Okay, so moving down to the bottom layer of my tackle box, I have a small catapult, just for flicking out some maggots or some sweet corn. Nice little lightweight one, very handy. I have a rod rest head. Always keep one in the tackle box just in case you forget one, and then it's really inconvenient. So just a general purpose small rod rest head. And then I keep a little box of just loose hooks. I personally just use barbless hooks. It's always nice to be able to just grab an eyed hook out if you want to start a new setup. And then I've got a nice range of hooks to nylon. So these are hooks that have been pre-set up, so they're already tied, and you just need to loop on your line, your main line, to these. So it's much faster, especially on a cold day if you don't feel like tying your own hook on, because when your hands are cold it can be quite difficult. It's just for convenience, and I've got a range of sizes here, and these are what I've just collected over the years. So all different sizes, look, size 10, size 16, for all different types of fishing and all different strengths of line on these. And at the bottom here I've got some that have a band on them. So what I mentioned earlier about the pellet bander, you can see the little band here. It's already pre-set up. You just expand that band and put your pellet on. And then I have a nice selection of shots, nice big box of shots with all different sizes, going from very big sizes to tiny sizes. And that gives me the option to have any kind of float setup or ledger setup that I want, and I'm not restricted to a couple of sizes. I can really fine tune it. And then I've just got a box here of just sort of odd bits and bobs. So I've got different sized pellet bands. I've got beads, rubber beads, for when I'm setting up like a ledger setup to protect the knots. I've got some swivels, and just some spare bits for some of my floats, just different weight inserts. So it's always good to just have a little odds and ends box when you get stray bits of tackle. Something else I always carry with me, because you never know, is a decent quality scale, and that allows you to get a nice accurate reading of any fish that you catch that you might think is a personal best. It's 7 kilos, so it's just under £16. And you can see it's a good one, because if you just pull it slightly, you get really good indications, very accurate indications. And it can have be adjusted as well. It's got a wheel on it here to adjust it so that you can zero the net. So if you add your wet landing net to it, if you're going to weigh it in a wet sling or a net, you can always zero it back. And it has a hook on the end too. And then I also have, I'll just show you my reels quickly. So what I have here is a feeder reel, so that I can use it for feeder fishing and float fishing. So in other words, a sort of general purpose reel. And this one is made by Drennan. And what I like about this one is it has a very shallow spool, which means that you don't need too much line to fill it. Some reels that you buy, you need hundreds of meters of line, or you need to add backing line. So I like to have a spool that's very shallow. So what I've got is just the one reel. This is a Drennan Red Range reel. It's got reverse tension on it, and I've got a couple of extra spools, and with this model I can put these little inserts in which tell me the strength of the line. So for example, this one is empty. You can see what I mean about the shallow spool. There's not much depth there. It's nice and easy to change and add line to. I'm going to put £6 on that one. I've got 4.4 on that one, and then I've got £8 on this one. Again, it gives me a range so that I can swap the spools out and change my style of fishing. So that is about it, guys, for the general tackle that you will need to start coarse fishing. You'll also need a bait box and a few other accessories such as bank sticks, a landing net, etc. But for the end tackle, that's pretty much all you need to get started. As you can see, I don't even have a dedicated tackle box. This is just a toolbox, and as long as it has all the compartments that you need, it'll be perfect for all your fishing tackle. You can see it's only small, nice and lightweight. So that's about it from me. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. Please like the video and also consider subscribing for more fishing content. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.